understand what I'm saying, right? Shake your head, but I don't know. Every now and again you shake your head, right? But so we're gonna have a good time learning a little bit about Social Security. But I need you to do me a favor. This is my disclaimer. When you leave here, don't go and say Noel say. That's me, my name, right? Say I heard, don't mention my name. But seriously, I'm not a Social Security's expert. So don't go out and do anything, and say that I said, all right? But I want to enlighten you with what I myself was able to learn. So as I share my screen for those that couldn't make it, right? We didn't tell them there was food, so they decided to. We're gonna do the same thing when we have the curry goat and oxtail and stuff. We ain't gonna tell them nothing. All right. So let's have some fun. Hopefully this works. So you could see what it says here, understanding Social Security. I want you to just bear in mind, Fritz talked about school and learning. You're here to have a little fun. And once you're having fun, you may pick up a little something along the way, right? We have this running joke with my wife where I said, I hardly ever been in the school. Most of what I learned passing by the school. Because the teachers, they spoke very loud, and so I could hear from outside when I didn't make it inside. And you guys would be impressed by that by the time I'm done here, right? Don't try learning from outside anyway. So have fun and learn as you go. All right. We're going to go through some history, things you probably didn't know, but I think it's kind of nice to know. Social Security, if you take it all, in the context, it could become very complicated. So we are not here today to unravel all the complicated stuff. We're just here, again, to have fun, share a little something with you, hopefully. And for those of you that I gave the $5 to laugh at my joke, if you don't laugh hard enough, I want my $5 back, okay? We good? Yeah. Right, so here's what it says. It says Social Security is a financial vehicle that can be utilized to deliver income for the rest of, an eligible individual's life. No matter how long a person may live, they will never outlive the income that Social Security provides. Very few vehicles today can make that promise. And we have a guest speaker today that's going to share a lot about what one of those other vehicles are, right? But is, I should say. So, it's a federal program providing retirement, disability, and survivor benefits to people. It was established, that the act itself, when it was passed in Congress, was in 1935. We'll chat a little bit more about that, and funded primarily through payroll taxes, FICA. I remember when I was an employee that got a pay stub, and I saw those 4 letters, and I wonder, who the hell is that? My folks growing up, I don't have no cousin, no relative by the name of FICA that they're taking part of my money on a weekly basis and giving it to. But what that is, it has a lot to do with you being able to collect on Social Security one day. So the Social Security program offers protection through several different income sources, right? Not only for the retiree, but also for retiree spouse, the retiree's children, including adopted children, stepchildren, grandchildren, and step-grandchildren. That's a good thing to know, that you may ask, well, if I'm getting Social Security and anything happens to me, then what happens? That may be something good or important, enough for you to know. So a little history, let's start. So the form of Social Security goes back years to what, 1601. It was what they referred to in England as English Poor Law. So it's nothing new. We just kind of, polish it up a little bit, a little adjustment here, a little adjustment there. So just for you to know, it's an idea that goes back a long time. So then in the United States, first it was something done for Civil War veterans, that if they, well, widows, I should say, that if during the Civil War, the husbands went to war and didn't come back, then that program would take care of the widows and their children. And so, again, nothing new. However, so it says here, despite the fact that since 1862, America has had Social Security program in the form of Civil War pension, benefits were never extended through the society, as it is today that everyone who qualifies can get a Social Security. It says President D. Roosevelt set out to rectify that situation when he took office in 1932. The president introduced social insurance program to address the economic. So that was where it actually took hold, where it took care of the community. It went beyond just, widows and their children. So the proposal created the work-related contributory system we know today, a system in which workers provide for their own future economic security through payroll deduction. Thus, for further movement and improvement, the Implication of Social Security Act of 1935 was passed. So Congress finally passed it across the board, where everyone that, again, qualifies, because you need to qualify, can get a check. So this, I think, may be interesting. So the first person to collect, I want you to check this out, right? He says payroll taxes were collected for the first time in January 1937, and the first one-time lump sum payments were made in that very same month. It's a guy from Cleveland, Ernest Ackerman, retired the day after the Social Security program began. During his 1 day of participation, right, he put in a nickel and he got back 17 cents. Right? Then it went on to say the next one, right? This was really got cool, right? This is the first recipient of these monthly securities benefit was a lady named Ida Mae Fuller from Vermont. Her first check was issued on January 31st, 1940 in the amount of $22.54. Right? Yeah, it goes, way back. And it also says she began collecting benefits in 1940 at the work for 3 years. After working for 3 years on the Social Security program, and she paid in a total of $24.75 into the system, right? So she put in over her time 24, let's round it up to $25. And during her lifetime, she collected how much? 22,000, almost $23,000. That's a big deal, right? Right. Of course. So that's hopefully enough for history. There are types of benefits. You have retirement benefits. Monthly income is based on your work history. So not to make it too complicated, I believe you need to qualify. You get one credit per quarter, or something like 4 credits per month. You need to have a total of 40 credits, so you need to work at least 10 years, right? Also, your benefits is derived from your 35 top income years. That's how they do all that complicated stuff. So let's run along, right? So this other one's a disability. We say for workers unable to work due to what? Illness, no matter what your age is, and survivor benefit for spouses, children, dependents of deceased workers. And supplemental SSI, you've heard of that also. So when can you claim? 62. Some people can't wait to be 62, right? But there's a catch to it. So the sooner you collect, the less money you get. So they want you to keep your money until you reach what they refer to as full retirement age, which is 70. And so they claim if you wait till 70, because you know the plan is, right? You try to wait till 70, but then you never get there, right? And so some people believe in getting their money now. I want my money now. Some people believe in waiting, and there are benefits to waiting. There are maybe benefits to taking your money early. Full retirement age, 66 or 67, depending on the year of your birth. And you can delay it up to age 70. And as it is, if you don't take it at 62, it's supposed to increase by 8% per year until you get to 70. How it's calculated, again, I just mentioned that they take your top 35 highest income years, adjusted for inflation. So you're supposed to get a little more as inflation goes up. So here's what I got to leave you with. All that stuff was just to allow me to prattle on and on and on and on and on. And hopefully you learned something. But this is the punchline. This is where I want to hit you in the gut, where you go, ouch! And you almost want to go to urgent care till you feel like you broke a rib. Right? I want to do that with my words. So, individual average monthly income. Who could take a guess what the average individual monthly income is? Let's say in America today.
Social Security?
Monthly, no. Average work income. How much?
$4,000.
4 grand. Somebody said 4 grand. Going once, going twice.
8,000.
Gone. Right. It's $5,100 plus. I know some of you are saying, really? Right? I would have said that too when I worked a job. Really? But that's decent money. But who understands that even with 5 grand a month, you could still struggle?
Yeah.
Would you agree? Over $62,000 a year. In most cases, that's decent money. But watch this. Who could tell me what the average Social Security monthly income is? A month.
800.
800,
1,900.
1900. Somebody say 1900. Very good. Collect when I get off. Right? It's about 1900. It's 22,000 plus per year. So here's my question to you. If you made $5,100 and there were still more bills at the end of the month than money, how the heck do you live on 1,900 when you retire? I want you to think about that. You understand that this is most people's case? They work all their lives and they're hoping to reach the age of 62 to collect Social Security. And so you leave a job where you made way more money than the income that you're going to get after you leave the job. Anybody ever notice that there are a lot of people that go back to work after they say they retired?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Does this make sense that this could very well be one of the reasons that they have to go back to work? So as I wrap up, I really want you to think, if this is going to be my situation, what the heck am I going to do? How are you going to live? You need to think seriously. This is not cool. Right? And so, what is your game plan? And so I want you to understand that is.
I have a question.
One question.
One question.
You sure? Like one. Okay.
One. Do the location make a difference?
In terms of when you say location, what do you mean?
Like if you retire in New York as opposed to retiring in Florida? Was
All right, so let me help you out with this, right? Because I want to bring the guest speaker up. How much better is life in Florida if you lived in New York and made 51 and you live in Florida now and made under 2,000? It does make a little difference, but is that much better?
No.
Probably not, right? You may need a little more money. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Right? So hold your questions for last. We have a question and answer session coming up. Right? And so that's what we're here for. That's what we do. We show people how to what? Go from at least 5,100 to when you retire, at least 5,100, or if not better, right? So pay close attention. So I get the awesome pleasure of bringing up this guy, you know. Oh, he gets the guest speaker, right? He's the guest. But this is my friend. Listen, him and his wife, they're $300,000 income earner in Primerica, do an amazing job. They have a great team that help so many people on a monthly basis, and that's one of the reasons why you guys are here today, because we need to spread the word that we can help you, make a difference. So without further ado, help me welcome up the incredible, he's up here, right? I guess next to Noel again.
How was that? Was that good? That was awesome, right? Listen, we can't, listen, this is a lot to take in. And, we're not gonna, do a 10-hour session on Social Security, okay? But you could always learn, you could always improve. But I think Noel left off with a great point. And the point that he left off is, what do you do if there's proper representation, Doug? What do you do if Social Security is not enough? Like, what's the other option? What's the other alternative? And one of the products that I think, and also I know that works tremendously is for you to have a Roth IRA. Okay, so a Roth IRA, understanding how a Roth IRA works, it grows. It's an opportunity for you to grow money, but you're growing money tax free. Who like tax free? Who likes tax free? How does that sound? Tax free, no tax. Okay, so it's a very prestigious account to have. If you have a Roth IRA, you oh, I got a Roth. I'm telling you, it's one of those accounts. Okay, obviously you can have your 401k, your job, but remember the 401k, the money's going before tax. So then when you're ready to take money out, you're gonna have to pay what? You're gonna have to pay taxes on it. But a Roth IRA is tax free, no tax. Let's go. Okay, so let's talk about it a little. Okay, you contribute after tax dollars, right? The money grows tax free at age 59 and a half or older. You have an ability where you can take out the money tax free. So now you do have to wait. You don't want to just put it in like, oh, let me get it. Okay, no, you need time to grow. Okay, but at age 59 and a half, you have the ability to take it out tax free. Account must be open at least for 5 years, right? At least 5 years. Keep going. So tax free growth and withdrawals. So no tax on the gains in retirement. Flexible access. Withdraw contribution anytime. Penalty free if you at the age of 59 and a half. Before age 59 and a half, they're usually a 10% penalty. So this is a retirement account, okay? It's not for you to put in and you want to take it over your retirement, okay? Just like Social Security, you gotta wait until you get it. 59 and a half is the time you gotta wait. Usually with some investment, there's a required time frame that you gotta start taking your money out. Usually it's about age 72 and a half. So if you have like a 401k or you have other retirement accounts, they're gonna say, oh, you gotta start taking money. Okay? But with a Roth IRA, you can actually leave the money in there, and there's no requirement for you to actually start taking money out. Okay, so if you choose to retire, you don't need the money. Guess what? Leave it, because the money's gonna grow and it's gonna keep growing, and remember it's tax free. Ready for younger investors. So if you're younger, right? Some of you guys are a lot younger in this room. It's a great way to start, because the good thing about it, you have time. So you could put in a certain amount, and then you're talking about 15 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? And then that's going to accumulate with compounded interest. Keep going. Yeah, you can start off with a minimum at least $25 a month. And by the way, that's only primary. Because if you go to the bank, they're going to tell you that you got to start off with a lump sum, or they're not going to look at you. You know, the bank only look at the people based on the amount of money you have in your account. Oh, yeah, you ever notice, maybe some of you guys don't, but usually, because maybe the amount you have doesn't catch their attention, right? But the people that catch their attention is the one that has the extra digits. And they're like, oh, do you need anything about the water, do you need anything? Or talk to the investment guy over here, right? And so you don't get an opportunity to even start, right? You know, so if the average person in this room says, I don't have a lump sum of money, I don't have 100,000, 200,000 to start off, you could actually start a Roth IRA with as minimum as $25 a month. Now, we don't recommend you put the minimum, because remember, if you put $25 a month, it's only $25 a month. We recommend you put the maximum you could put. And how cool is it to actually, because somebody says, well, you know, I just can't save. Well, you pay bills, right? So just like how you pay bills, why don't you add in paying yourself first? Well, I gotta pay my mortgage, I gotta pay my rent, I gotta pay the phone bill, you don't understand. I get it, but you paying somebody else first. And we never seems to consider, say, no, let me put myself in the bills. Let me put away this for myself first, and then I'll give everybody else. Because if something happens, guess what happens? Your landlord ain't gonna do nothing. He ain't gonna help your family. He ain't gonna give you extra money, right? Either way, even if you die, your landlord's still gonna give you money. The mortgage company is still gonna need their money. You guys know what I'm saying, right? So the concept here, you wanna get in and have to pay yourself first and put away money. Okay, what else we got here? So here's some other early withdrawal options. So if you decide that you want to take the money out before age 2.5, they do give you exemptions where you can take it out without it even being a penalty. So if you're a first-time home buyer, so maybe you have a game plan to buy a house in a few years from now, right? You take it out with an exemption. If you have a disability, if a death, or if you have a qualified education expense, you have a child that needs to go to college, you can take the money out without no penalty. Ain't that pretty cool? Yeah. What else we got here? That's probably it. But things to know, there's a contribution limit, because remember, it's money you're putting away that you're not paying taxes on. So the government says, well, we don't want you to put away too much money you don't have to pay taxes on. So they do give you a limit. But my suggestion is 7,000 if you're under 50, 8,000 if you're over 50. But my suggestion is you start now and try to put in the maximum you can put in and get the years that you could actually put in, you know, as much as you can put it. Because once you lost the years, you can't get it back. And you must have earned income. Okay, what is earned income? Income that you earn it. Right? That's easy. Okay? As soon as you start, the more time you're gonna have, you want to do a tax free. Okay? I think that should be it. Right? In summary, a Roth IRA is one of the smartest tools you can add to your portfolio. Pay tax once, grow tax free, withdraw tax free for life. Start early, stay consistent, and let compound growth work for you. Make sense? How was that? Was that good?
Yeah.
All right. So we have a giveaways that we're going to go to giveaways. If you can remember something that we covered, you can raise your hand and we're going to give you a chance to win. This is a very prestigious pen. It's not a regular pen. It's the Prime American pen. So when you go to your job and you just leave it on the table, you're like, what's that? Oh, it's my America. You know, my representative, Mr. Noel. You know, he helped me out, right? And you're just gonna, you know, you're gonna feel very prestigious. Okay? So from Noel's segment, I got a question. First to raise your hand, get a chance to answer. Yes, already. This might be too easy. What's the earliest age you can start taking out of retirement? Social Security. What's the earliest age you can start getting money? You gotta raise your hand. All you guys. All right, that's too easy. Everybody said the answer out loud. When did Social Security was it started? Was the first slide? What year did it act started? Something like that. Yeah. Yes. Nobody's raising your hand. All right, let's try this. What's the maximum amount you can take from your? What's the max you can put in the Roth IRA over strictly? Okay, go ahead. 8,000. Let's give her a big hand. Three times before you got that. Okay. All right. Thank you. We got 3 more pets. Okay. So you guys got it. So the next speaker we're gonna bring up. Well, let me just bring it back. Noel, he's gonna introduce the guest speaker. By the way, the lunch was sponsored by this man right here, the guest speaker. You probably want to, you know, let him know how much you guys appreciate it. Okay. So hold on a second to Noel. Man, you got this guest speaker.
Good afternoon. Don't wanna make the mistake of, some of us got up really early, right? Some nighttime for some of us, but anyway, you notice how excited I got, I was ready to bypass Fritz. I see him every day. This guy, I don't get to see him as much as I would like to, but just an incredible guy, comes from right here in Brooklyn.
Good.
And over the years, I would see him because he'll be at our seminars and so forth. But actually, it was, I think, late last year that we really, really got to know each other. And he just shared some information that kind of helped us to be able to help our clients in a tremendous way, and selfless, always ready to help. And I want you to know, he drove almost 4 hours. Not only did he pay for the food, he drove almost 4 hours to get here. So, I really want you to pay close attention when he comes up, because does that kind of give you an idea like he really wants to be here?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so he's not just a working partner, and they do so much to help us grow our business, but I believe I can call him a friend. So without further ado, help me welcome up this incredible guy. He's a husband, he's a father, and my friend, John Sheenan!
How's it going today? You okay? You are? Very good. Guys, thanks so much for having me. Noel, Fitz, thanks so much for putting this on today, and thanks so much for your time coming out on a Saturday. I do live in Connecticut. I did drive a few hours to get here, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I do consider the folks in this room that are Primerica representatives friends. We've been partners with Primerica, I'm with Bright House Financial. We've been partners going back to 1999, and we've helped tons of funds. Oh. There we go. Perfect. Even better. Sometimes I can figure out technology. Technology is great when it works, right? But I will tell you that, we have helped jointly, Primerica and Bright House, so many clients, so many investors really get from point A to point B. When I got my car this morning, my son had a hockey game this morning. I was able to help coach it from 7 to 8. I got in the car afterwards. And the first thing I did was plug the address in my Waze app. Anybody who use Waze or like Google Maps or whatever you use for a GPS, I recommend Waze. It diverts you through traffic a lot faster than the other ones. But listen, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I know how to get to Brooklyn. But as we all know, there's multiple ways to get here, right? There's different roads and routes and bridges and everything else you can take, tunnels to get here. But to me, I use a GPS to get from point A to point B the fastest. And that's really what Primerica does with a financial needs analysis. So if you haven't had a financial needs analysis done before, it's like your financial GPS, right? What I'm going to talk about today is just kind of piggybacking on what Noel talked about with Social Security. I'm not going to cover that topic specifically, but I'm going to talk about a couple strategies that, quite honestly, most Americans haven't even heard of before, never mind realize they exist or how they work. But using a financial needs analysis and having a financial professional to help guide you through from point A, which is wherever you're at in your retirement game plan, to retire to point B, which is eventually we're going to retire and we want to spend that money down and not have any qualms about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So, getting that financial needs analysis done, Noel, I think you had mentioned it, or Fitz had mentioned it, you go out to another financial planning firm, just for them to do something like a financial needs analysis, could cost you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And that's just to get the plan. They didn't even talk about implementing it that, right? How much does that financial needs analysis cost here, Noel?
It's free.
Free. That's pretty good, right? So listen, if you're, no matter where you're at in your game plan, to get from point A to point B, I promise you that your financial professional here at Primerica can help get you there by doing something like that. Now, part of the financial needs analysis is talking about having a financial independence number, right? Financial independence number. And regardless of where you're at in your plan or how old you are, just by a raise of hands, and this is probably for the Primerica representatives in the room, what is that number typically north of? Anybody know? For anybody new? Yes,
$1 million?
$1 million, right? $1 million saved for retirement to get me from age 65, hypothetically, is what my retirement age is, to a 25 to 30 year retirement. You know, retirement looks a lot different now than it did 30, 40 years ago. My grandfather was born in the 1920. He served in World War II, came back from the war, you know, worked at an auto body shop and worked at United Technologies, helping build, you know, jet engines for aircraft and whatnot. And when he retired in 1983, the two main sources for his retirement income were Social Security that Noel talked about. And what's that other thing that most of us don't have?
Pension.
Pensions, right? Most of us don't have pensions anymore. The government has basically told us we need to figure out how to supplement Social Security. Just one little factoid on Social Security. And Noel, you did a great job on, you know, pointing out it's $1,900 a month is the average. You can go right to the Social Security website and they will tell you that Social Security is intended to replace about a third of your retirement income, right? Whatever you're earning during your working years, Social Security is only intended to cover about a third of that, and many Americans are relying on much, much more than a third to fund your retirement. Now, why have pensions gone away? Pensions have gone away for really two reasons. Reason number one is they're really expensive for an employer to fund, right? And reason number two is, are we living longer or shorter lives as Americans? Longer, right? When my grandfather retired in 1983, first of all, he had lived longer, I think, than anybody in his family up to that point, right? And he was looking probably at a 10 to 12 year retirement. He retired at age 62. Well, he lived all the way out into his early 80s. Today, if you're age 65, right, and that's our hypothetical number where we're going to retire, you need to start planning for a 25 to 30 year retirement, right? So I did a lot of driving this morning. And there are some nutty drivers out there. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
The only person that knows exactly the right speed to drive is me. That's it. I've come to that conclusion. I drive like 60,000 miles a year. I've come to the conclusion I am the only one that knows the right speed to drive. Because the people that are going too slow, no offense, okay? No offense, it's like, what are you doing on the road? Move out of the way. And the guy that blazes past me going 110 goes, that guy's nuts. Right? He's crazy. What's he doing? Only I know the right speed to drive. Why am I saying this? Because why do you need a financial needs analysis? Some people are in the slow lane, some people are in the fast lane, and some people are in the middle lane, right? It all depends on your risk tolerance, how conservative, moderate, or aggressive you want to be. But we all know one thing. We all need one thing. We need to have an assurance that we can fund our retirement and we don't have to worry about living too long, okay? Retirees' number one fear today is outliving your assets. Outliving your assets. And I'm gonna go over a couple things here just in a minute. I'm gonna share my screen. I'll bring some facts up here. But, you know, as you're going through that F&A, the financial needs analysis, and you look at your financial independence number, being $1 million, you know, some of us look at it and go, scratch our head, like, how the heck am I gonna get there, right? How am I gonna get to $1 million? When is the right time to start investing? Now, right? Now, today. The market typically does three things. Some people will say two. There's actually three, okay? The market goes up. The stock market goes down. What do you think the third thing is? It goes back up again. Right? That's typically what it does. Look at the last 6 years in a microcosm. In the last 6 years, we've had COVID, right? Where the market went down in 2020, the year 2020. In March of 2020, the stock market, the S&P 500 went down by 30% in a month. What do we do as human beings when things get scary? We panic, and especially with our money, our hard-earned dollars. What do we typically do when the market starts getting a little bit scary? We sell. And where do we move to? We move to cash in the bank. When do we get back into the market? When it's already up, when we feel like it's already rebounded, we feel like it's safe, right? And you do that over and over again. Timing the market is not the answer, because it's really hard to do. Because all of us would have that crystal ball, and I'd be paying exponential money to have that crystal ball that tell me exactly when the market goes up and the market goes down. but it's up much, much more than it is now. As a fact, 85% of the time, the stock market produces gains. 15% of the time, the stock market produces losses. Now, I don't like those losses, but we have to understand about the stock market is that in order for it to continue to rise, it has to reset sometimes. Because what's a flat rate of return gets you? What you're getting in your checking and savings, when you're getting in your CD, potentially at the bank, something we deem safe, right? It can't go down. Something that we have talked a lot about, or heard a lot about over the last couple of years, is a word that starts with the letter I. Inflation, right? Cost of living. Is it more or less expensive to go to the grocery store today than it was 2 years ago? Or is it more or less expensive to go to the gas pump than it was 2 years ago? Everything goes up, right? So in order to keep pace with everything that you want in your retirement, remember, slow lane, middle lane, fast lane, wherever you fall, there's a spot for you that typically over time in the stock market, if you're a patient investor, you have always been exponentially rewarded. The key is patience, right? Because in 2020, when the market went down by 30% in a month, if you just rode it out by the end of the year, the S&P 500 rebounded it. It was up a total of 20% by the end of the year 2020, right? The year 2022, the S&P 500 goes down 20%. Guys, if you went back the last 6 years, you put $1 in, you put $100 into the stock market 6 years ago, you'd have $200 today. Your money doubled in the last 6 years if you were able to ride it out. But what makes it a little bit easier, and what we use, or excuse me, what the relationship that Bright House Financial, who I work for, and the financial representatives in the room today from Primerica use as part of somebody's overall strategy to get them from point A to point B the fastest. Mutual funds are awesome. We use annuities, okay? Now, I have a horrible singing voice. I'm not going to bore you with this, okay? I'm not going to sing up here and make anybody's ears bleed today. But has anybody heard that J.G. Gentworth commercial? 877 cash now, right? That one? That's what most people hear the word annuity. And annuities have changed a lot over the years. If you've never heard of an annuity before, very simply, all it is a contract with you and an insurance company that provides some sort of a guarantee. What I want to talk about today is we provide income guarantees. Who here owns a vehicle or a house? Anybody own a vehicle or a house? Do you have to pay insurance on that piece of property? Do we like paying that insurance on that piece of property? No. But if you insure a car, remember we talked about, I'm the only one that knows how to drive the right speed. What if the nutty guy or nutty gal that's driving rear ends us and all of a sudden, hey, listen, that insurance pays off just like that, right? Hopefully. Okay. We use insurance to fund your retirement to make sure you have guaranteed income coming in. Okay. So Bright House Financial has a program that basically takes the idea of a pension and uses the stock market for growth. But if you ever run out of money, 3 ways you can run out of money when it comes to the stock market. Those 3 things are: 1, I live a long time in retirement. Hopefully we all want to do that, right? Number 2, I'm investing in the market, and a couple times over the course of time, we're going to see the stock market go down. Most of the time it goes up, but sometimes it goes down. The 3rd way or 3rd thing that drives any nest egg to zero is just taking money out, right? What's the safe withdrawal rate? Forget an annuity, forget a mutual fund, forget how much you save for retirement. If you're 65 years old, does anybody know what the safe percentage is that you should take out per year to hopefully not run out of money? 4%. 4%. And the reason why it's 4% is because that gives us about an 85% probability that I won't run out of money. Now, let me ask you a question. you're on a plane, you're flying down to Florida in January, you're getting out of New York or Connecticut because it's cold and we want to go somewhere warm. And we're at like 35,000 feet and we're somewhere over Virginia. And the pilot goes, hey, we have a 85% chance of landing successfully in Miami when we touch down. What happens in that plane immediately? Panic. And what are we looking for? A parachute, right? That's what we're looking for. Those odds, if you're on that plane at 35,000 feet, don't look so great, right? No, in reality, there's only a 15% probability that the plane won't touch down successfully. But this plan that we're going to talk about today gives you 100% probability for a piece of your investment, for a piece of your nest egg that you can't run out. Now, the other thing I'll tell you is when we talk about annuities, if anybody ever tells you to put 100% of your money in an annuity, run the other way as fast as possible. You're not supposed to put 100% of your money in anything, right? You need to have an emergency account. You need to have mutual funds and other investments. This is just a piece of the puzzle, okay? So when you're kind of like putting together a plan, the annuity is just a piece of it. Just keep that in mind, okay? So I'm going to share my screen here for folks. And I'm going to bring something up pretty quick, hopefully. I've only done about 6,000 Zoom meetings, so I don't know what's there. Here, and I'll share my screen, okay? So, there's gonna be a lot of numbers on this page, and what scares a lot of people about investing, quite honestly, is when you look at a page that looks like this. Right? I get scared. I look at that and go, and my stomach's already turning. There are so many numbers up on this thing. I have no idea what any of this means. Okay? But I'm going to show you two examples going back about 20 years. And I'm going to just point out a couple things on this page. Okay? I promise you. So the way an annuity works is you have your account value that goes up or down with the market. You can be conservative, moderate, or aggressive in the underlying investments. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. The stock market does typically three things. It goes up, it goes down, it goes back up again. But then we add a second feature on there that kind of acts like a pension. It's a number that we will base your income upon for the rest of your life. Okay. And at different ages, we'll start guaranteeing more the older you are. Okay. So as I look at this page, make it a little bit bigger, hopefully, for everybody to see. We're starting off in a year, go over here for you. We're starting off in the year 2003, okay? There was a good run in the stock market for about 5 years. This individual is age 60 today, and I'm just using a round number. I've got 6 kids. I have to keep things as simple as possible because I don't have the brain capacity sometimes to do much more than that. So I'm just using $100,000 to start off, right? So for the first 5 years, okay, the market goes up. These are actual numbers. Market goes up 26, 7, 11, 5, and 6. And my investment goes from $100,000 to $168,000 in 5 years. Would everybody be satisfied with those numbers?
Yep.
Right. And we're high-fiving Noel all around. We're giving high fives, like Noel's coming over for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're all like one big happy family. I just made 68% return in 5 years. Everything is great. You look at the column directly to the right. Okay? Right here, that's highlighted in purple. What we do with this program is we lock those gains in once a year. And now your income is based upon that number. Your pension payment is based upon that number for the rest of your life. So that $168,000, that's what I'm going to base my withdrawals on for as long as I live. If I pass away, Bright House will pay your spouse. They have the option to continue the income. Your kids, your church, your dog, your cat, whoever you want to be your beneficiary gets the remainder. The insurance company is not keeping the money. Is everybody with me so far?
Right.
Okay. So let's just look at this. And then in year five, 2008 happened. Remember 2008? That was a fun year, right? 2008, 2009, for those of us that were investing and paying attention back then. The S&P 500 goes down by 39% in 1 year. Now, this person's 65 years old. They were at $168,000 and the account value goes to $94,000 a year later. Has that person's game plan changed? Can they afford to still retire? Probably not. Probably not. What is the alternative? They have to keep on working. And nobody wants to do that if that wasn't the point, right? So what Bright House does, if you look directly to the column to the right again, what stays consistent? That locked-in number of $168,000. And the individual goes to start taking income, it's about 96, a little over $9,600 a year. That's safe withdrawal rate's 4%, right? Without an annuity. It's kind of weird math. It's an odd number, but it's a good number. It's 5.75% for as long as you live. My point is that's higher than the safe withdrawal rate without having a guarantee. Okay, so we flash forward on this a few years, and we get out, and it's the year 2025. We put in $100,000. The client has been taking income now for about 15, 16 years. They've been paid back $167,000 in this plan. It's averaged 7% in return in terms of the funds going up or down. But the best part about it is, look, they still have $102,000 sitting in their account. Listen, if the game plan changes and we need to move money or take money out, whatever we have to do, because the fund performance has been so good, you get the best of both worlds, right? In a pension, a traditional pension, you have to hope and pray that pension has a cost of living adjustment in order for your check to increase. And for those of us that have pensions, most of them don't. Okay, so if I started collecting on this pension, let's assume it was a pension 20 years ago, I'd still be getting the same paycheck that I got 20 years ago, Noel, but we all agree that everything went up in price, right? So this is a way, the stock market is a way, and I get it, right? Most people don't invest in the market because of the risk of loss associated with it. Scary. But you turn around, what doesn't make it scary is when you have a guarantee next to it that says, we'll give you a check for the rest of your life. And just so you know, I'm not cooking the numbers here, okay? I'm not just picking a great starting point and this is, all good. What happens if we started it rather than in 2003 when the stock market was going up? What if we started it when the stock market went down in 2008? Just the reverse. Let's be fair, right? None of us know what the market's going to do on Monday. Never mind when we go to retire. That's out of our control. Okay. The way to wrap that control is, hey, same thing happens. What happens? I put $100,000 in. 2008 happens, and now my account value is 60 grand. What do you think most people did in 2008? Stayed in the market or took it out? Took it out. And what did they get back in if they ever got back in? 10 years later, because they were so shell shocked by losing that much money, right? So what Bright House will do, let's say the same individual is 60 years old, okay? Their sister is 60 years old. She goes into this program and she says, you know what, I'm not going to touch this again for 5 years. I'm going to wait. Bright House will take 5% and add it to your pension every year, even if the market's down. So I put 100,000 in, the account value is at 60,000, but what's up with the benefit base? It goes up. My income actually went up when the market went down, right? We turn around 5 years later, yeah, my account value is rebounded a little bit because the market's come back, but look at my pension. It's now based on $127,000 for the rest of my life, no matter what happens. Like, I'm sorry, guys, I get a little nerdy with this stuff. Like, this stuff excites me, okay? Because you put yourself, I always look at everything through the scope of, what if this was my mother or father? What if this was my mother or father, right? And if I was looking at this, quite honestly, my parents would be super nervous if this happened. They didn't have some sort of guarantee next to it. But I want you to look at how much this person was paid. They put $100,000 in. They've been collecting for a shorter period of time. Maybe started at 5 years later. They've been paid back $96,000. But look at the account value, 130 grand. They've been paid back $96,000, and the value itself is worth $30,000 more than when you started. Is that a win-win in either scenario?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, because people don't wanna give up control of their money, nor should you. I wouldn't wanna give up control of it, right? But if this account value ever goes to zero, if there's ever a goose egg there, what happens? Bright House continues to send you a check for the rest of your life at $9,000 per year, no matter what happens, even if you live to 110 years old. You might say to yourself, that sounds too good to be true. Maybe think of that right now? Well, listen, we've been doing this for a while at Bright House. We understand the math behind it. There's a cost associated with it, but the bottom line is, it's called peace of mind to you. Regardless of what's going on in the market, you have a guaranteed check, okay? So we use that type of program for clients that are closer to the income phase. There's 3 phases when it comes to retirement planning. There's the accumulation stage where we're growing the assets. There's the protection phase, when it's like the 5 years prior and the 5 years after you're about to retire. Anybody here a football fan, by any chance? Thank God the Giants won on Thursday, and they finally beat Philadelphia at something, right? Yes. I will tell you, I'm a Giants fan, and I've had a paper bag over my head since the last Super Bowl. Okay, but we finally beat Philly, which always feels good, and Saquon Barkley did run for 200 yards. But what's the most important thing in a football game when they measure the analytics? Is that there's a part of the field when the offense has the ball, it's called the red zone, right? So the offense has the ball, the quarterback's trying to score. It's when you get to the 20-yard line of your opponent. The metrics and the analytics say if the team doesn't either score a touchdown or kick a field goal, they're not going to win the football game. Bottom line, right? And the Giants haven't been successful because they always kick field goals or turn it over. They never score touchdowns, right? Ever. But the past couple games have been kind of exciting. They're getting the ball over the goal line. They're running the ball. They're throwing the ball. It's pretty cool. Well, when you come to your game plan in retirement, what's your retirement red zone? Your retirement red zone is the 5 years prior you're about to retire, and the 5 years after is when you can at least afford something like a 2008, where the market out of nowhere goes down dramatically, right? Because that ultimately alters our plan. So the program I just talked about is for individuals that are closer to using income in retirement. We do have a strategy called Shield, and I'm just going to take 5 minutes and cover this. I promise you I'll be done after this, okay? But it's something that we have a ton of success with here at Bright House. All the things we just talked about, you know, in terms of financial needs analysis makes sense, but what I want to show you, I'm going to spin this back up for you. Share my screen. Zoom always is in the way. Quick. See if this works. You zoom slideshow, there we go, okay. We'll back this out. So this idea is just simple, it's how does the program work, okay? So I told you I have 6 kids, and for anybody that has a kid, and you've ever gone out, try to go out to have dinner, God love you, okay? With your spouses or family, all of a sudden, everybody's bored at the dinner table and they need a phone or they need an iPad or like, I didn't have an iPad or a phone when my parents once in a while took me out to dinner in 1985, okay? We had crayons and we figured it out, but now everybody needs a phone. Well, you know, they came the crayons out and you have a tic-tac-toe game. This is called Tic-Tac-Shield, okay? The name of the strategy is Shield, okay? So when you sit down and you're looking at your 401k at work, okay, if you're contributing to one, hopefully you are, okay? There's typically 2 different asset classes in a 401k that you can invest in. There's stocks and bonds. And there's pros and cons to each, but it's about diversification, okay? It's about diversification in your portfolio because one goes up, the other one goes down, the other one goes up, vice versa. Make sense?
Yeah.
So let's talk about stocks and bonds. What's the benefit of a bond, typically, conceptually, is that we use it for safety. It's not trying to hit a grand slam in your portfolio for a rate of return, right? But what is the drawback of bonds? Typically low returns. Like, you're not lighting the world on fire with a bond. Not like you're gonna get, it's like slow and steady wins the race with bond, make sense? Now, you go to the stock market, it's the exact opposite. But why do people not put money in the market? Because of the risk associated with loss, right? But it offers you the opportunity for high returns. In this program, we use something, one of the investment choices is the S&P 500. 500 largest companies domestically here in the United States. Since inception, it's averaged over 10% a year. I'm going back to the 1950s. Who here would sign up for 10% a year on that? Woo, I would, right? So, like any good tic-tac-toe game, you have X's and O's. What do we want to eliminate? The low returns of bonds and the risk associated with the stock market. And what do we want to keep? When the market goes down, we all want an airbag, right?
Yeah.
We want a way out. We want some cushion. We want somebody else to cover that loss. When the market goes up, we want to be invested. That's our shield annuity. It's used in a 6-year increment. The protection covers up to the first 25% of loss on the S&P 500 spread over 6 years. That's a lot of protection, okay? How much can you make on the way up? Well, it depends on how much protection you have. But let's just say you had 25% protection. Your investment could, it's not guaranteed, but it could go up by 75%. So if I put $100,000 into the market and it was up 75%, my 100 grand would be worth $175,000. Over the next 6 years, would everybody agree with me that the stock market is going to go up or down? It's not going to go up a straight line or down in a straight line, right? It's going to do one of those two things. And as I've talked, probably pounded everybody over the head today, most people make poor decisions when the stock market goes down.
Right.
This is just a way to stay invested. And if you went back 6 years ago in this program, in this annuity called Shield, if I put $100,000 in, it's worth $200,000 today. But it wasn't always worth $200,000, right? Because you had COVID, you had the year 2022 built in there. What made me stay invested through turbulent times is having a guarantee. Shield has no fees, and it has a guaranteed death benefit built in. So I know that you talked about how much you stress the life insurance component of the overall plan, which I completely agree with. I'm a Primerica client. I own term insurance. I believe in what you guys do, okay? But some people are uninsured, okay? You just don't qualify. It doesn't make sense cost-wise. Maybe somebody had a health event. This program has an automatic death benefit built in if you're 80 or younger, and you can use it for legacy, okay? There's no blood, there's no urine, there's no nurse showing up at the house. What do you need? You need at least $25,000 to start this plan. It can be funded from a lot of different sources, right? I mean, it could be money sitting in the bank, it could be, rolling money over from an old 401k plan, maybe it's in an IRA or something that somebody set you up with, and you're like, now I'm getting closer. This is a super easy fit and a great way to grow your money with protection on the downside, right? Shield has been something that I know many in this office have used in the past for your clients. And it really does make a ton of sense when you don't need to take money out of it. So kind of the cool thing is we have a program for somebody that's in the accumulation phase that doesn't need income. And then we have a program where we can provide guaranteed income for life. And listen, you're going to fall all over the map here. It just depends on what you're looking for. But we should have a solution that fits for, this is key, part of your month, not all of your month, part of your month. Okay. So listen, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Let me get out of this. I really appreciate everybody's time today, and in consideration of the fact that it is a Saturday and that there is food in the room. I'm going to stop right there. I appreciate it. I hope everybody today for the time that you spent coming here, I hope you at least were to take away something that you didn't learn or didn't know before. And certainly, again, shameless plug for the folks that are in the room from Primerica, get that financial needs analysis done. If you've already had it done, get it looked at again. It never hurts. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, let's get going again. Okay, we got Mike, we got to do that, Q&A, 5-minute Q&A. We got a question.
got John Sheenan.
I did wanna make one point to, Noel's social security presentation. And I don't have a pen, I do have a pen to hand out. Here we go, I got another pen. Alright, so if anybody remembers this, what is social, I'm thinking the right way to phrase this question. How many working years does social security count for your benefit?
Roseanne. Just give her a chance.
Was it? 10 years, another answer, anybody else?
She was in it.
35.
30, boom.
All right. All right, John, you're a little, give it another, John. That's 2 more pens.
One point on that 35 years though. If you only work 30, they count the other 5 as zeros in your average. What happens to your average if you have zeros? I got a couple of those in high school. The other key with the Social Security Administration is when you do retire and you're going to collect, call the Social Security Administration and make sure that they have your working years and numbers correct, because they have been known to not have that calculation correct, so. All parts.
All right, that was powerful, that's fine. All right, John, you're in a roll.
All right, question number 2, I got 2 more pens. What was the name of the last program I showed you on that tic-tac-toe grid?
And
Right in the middle,
Oh, in the middle.
in the middle.
You.
Boom.
You gotta get another pen.
Okay, last question. You're age 65. What is the safe withdrawal rate you should take out per year without using an annuity? The back. Boom. I'm not gonna throw it, because I'm gonna poke something. You got it.
Come on, you got it, 4%, 4%. All right. All right, 5 minutes of Q&A. If anyone has a question for John, or for Noel, or for myself. Come on, don't be shy. If not, we go straight to the raffle. Got a question? All right, Mr. Brian Senior.
You don't need money.
Thank you for coming out and
Well-
the presentation and what have you. I'm 62, right? And I'm looking at retirement in about a year or so. And it feel like the plan was geared towards people younger than myself and what have you. What about us older folks? Like, is it the same model, the same,
You mean in terms of like what your investment should look like?
Yeah.
So most individuals, when they get to retirement, you know, if you're investing, say, in the stock market, most people in that growth stage have their foot down on the pedal, right? And most of us are somewhat aggressive. And then when we get to retirement, we kind of take our foot off the gas and we put our foot on the brake and we switch our portfolio to something more conservative because we feel like we can't lose, right? Now, that can make sense for some individuals. I'm not gonna give that type of advice. I'm not gonna make that recommendation today. But what might lead you to being kind of in that same risk tolerance as you were before, where you've seen just tremendous growth over the last few years and really ever since you started planning for retirement, is if you have a guarantee, it makes it a little bit easier to stay somewhat in that lane of wherever you were during your accumulation years. Does that make sense? So if I have a guarantee tied to it that says, hey, listen, I can cover, the insurance company, Bright House will cover, you know, the first 25% of loss, I might be able to still be in stocks or equity funds versus just switching everything to bonds, right? Or if I'm in the income stage, you know, you can develop a portfolio in that program. We have, has everybody heard of Fidelity before?
Yeah.
Or Invesco or Franklin Templeton or American? Those are all like brand names. How the first product that I had with all those scary numbers up on the screen, like there's different fund companies, right? That you can use conservative, moderate, and aggressive funds inside of that. But the only way to really know, again, I just go back to the financial needs analysis and working with a financial professional, because those decisions are hard to make by yourself. Fair enough?
Right. Anyone else have a question? If you're on Zoom, you can put it in the chat.
as well? Any other question? You got the experts here. Been in business for how many years?
20,
20 years.
kind of scared and saying,
You might just know what you're talking about, right?
yes.
What do you see some of the downfalls that people have it? A lot of people have stuff through their job.
Mhm.
Do you see some of the downfalls at people with jobs or versus getting something with your company or something outside of it?
Yeah, I think the number one pitfall a lot of people have is, we don't all work at the same company forever, most of us at least, right?
Yeah.
But if you're contributing to that 401k plan and you leave that job for whatever reason, either because you wanted to or somebody wanted to make you leave, right? You leave that money behind in that old employer plan and you don't move it to your IRA. Who manages the 401k plan? You or your old employer? Your old employer, right? If you left that job and you worked at a cubicle, God help, okay? When you left, did you leave the pictures of your family, your coffee cup, maybe your stapler you left behind? But like, you took everything with you, right? Like, why leave your money behind, right? Get that money working for you in your own IRA. That's probably the number one thing. The other thing is, like, most 401ks only have 10 or 12 funds to invest in, and nobody knows what the heck to invest in, right? It's like throwing darts at a dartboard. You talk to a relative you think knows something about the market. It just, you don't know how to choose those funds, right? So you really have to dig in and figure out, not just, hey, what was the fund that just performed best last year? I'm gonna put everything in that. And next year it goes down because it was super aggressive. It's really understanding the funds inside of your 401k plan as well.
Thank you. And then I got a question, I'm gonna speak for my peoples. Trump. Most people want to invest because of Trump,
Mhm.
right? So what do you say on that? Because most people, Trump is crazy, right? Isn't that like a common thing? You wanna talk about the elephant in the room?
I will tell you.
So what's your thoughts on that, and what do you think?
Absolutely. Listen, I have apolitical conversations, right? Because no matter what side of the fence you're on, you're gonna have some sort of view on what's going on in politics. We have to understand is politics, regardless of who's in office. The stock market continually rises year over year, right? The US economy continues to turn out profits year over year. And the news stations, doesn't matter which one, okay, they sell on fear and marketing for you to tune in. Right? What you need to do is try to tune that noise out, as difficult as it is today, right? As difficult as it is today. I'm not saying don't be connected and like understand what's going on politically and understanding how that impacts the economy. But regardless of who's in office, Democrat, Republican, the stock market and the US economy continues to lead the world economy, right? Keep that in mind.
That's good. Are we good? All right, let's give John the other.
Yeah. Quick question. So when it comes to the four-legged, the retirement thing, I forgot what you call it exactly.
So three-legged stools,
Three-legged stool.
I think so. Might have four.
So the one that's really broken out of all of them is Social Security.
So what I'll tell you about Social Security, and this is just my 2 cents on it, okay? If you get your Social Security statement online, because they don't mail it to your house anymore. It will tell you that if they don't make changes to the calculation by the year like 2028, that Social Security is gonna come bankrupt. Now I was just talking about politics, right? So here I go again. There's no politician, in my estimation, that will ever let Social Security go to zero because they'll never get reelected, right? So in all likelihood, what they're going to do, well, you would mention before retirement age, age 67 today, maybe they push that back 3 years to age 70. Maybe they increase the payroll taxes for it. They're gonna adjust the numbers and you're gonna have some sort of Social Security coming in, and you just might have to wait longer. So is it broken? I don't think it's perfect by any means, okay? Yes, the numbers don't look good right now, but the last time they changed Social Security was in the 1980s. Okay, So they will make adjustments to it. But Washington DC doesn't do anything right on time, right? They're gonna wait and make a big deal about it right before everybody's nervous, and then something is gonna change and they'll pass some sort of legislation to keep, in all likelihood, social security intact for generations. But it's only intended for a piece of your retirement. I keep on putting that out there. It's not the whole thing.
All right, let's give John a big hand, thank you. All right, so let's do the raffle, who's excited about the raffle? Who's got it? This box will be yours. Cynthia, you ready? We're rock and roll. All right, so if you're a guest, you just stand for a quick, we'll give you a ticket. Make sure you don't get two tickets. You guess like somebody bought you. Whether it was, come on, Noel, not Noel, I'm saying